as that group was, they noticed a small piece called Losing Chase that was way under the radar.
A reputation is not destroyed by truth. It is dismantled by a story that feels true. Just hours ago, a perfectly crafted lie was used to publicly execute Meghan Markle's Hollywood career, and 50 million people watched it happen, believing every single word. This is how it was done. Hello, everyone. This is Sophia Black, and what I am about to share with you today is not just a story about celebrity conflict. It is a dispatch from the front lines of a new kind of war. Just hours ago, a piece of meticulously crafted digital ordnance was detonated across the global information landscape, a narrative weapon designed for a single purpose: the public execution of Rachel Meghan Markle's Hollywood standing. The attack vector was a video so perfectly fabricated that it bypassed the cognitive defenses of millions. In this clip, Dame Helen Mirren, an actress whose entire reputation is built on gravitas, the symbolic custodian of institutional dignity through her Oscar-winning portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II, appears to deliver a devastating critique of the Duchess of Sussex at the Golden Globes. The footage is a masterclass in psychological warfare. The production quality mirrors a live awards broadcast with unnerving precision, but it is the performance that is truly chilling. The AI-generated voice of Dame Helen Mirren does not deliver a hysterical tirade. Her tone is measured, her language formal, her judgment delivered with the cold precision of a monarch defending her realm from an internal threat. This was no random act of online mischief. According to sources monitoring the dark web of digital information warfare, this was a targeted strike, a commercial and social termination notice for the entire Sussex enterprise. Consider the implications. Within 48 hours, this fabrication achieved over 50 million views. A viral velocity of that magnitude is not organic. It is the signature of a sophisticated and coordinated distribution network. This operation represents a methodical dismantling of the Sussex position, a hostile acquisition of the public narrative. We are witnessing a fundamental restructuring of reputational conflict, where the most powerful weapon is no longer a scandalous truth, but a lie engineered to feel more authentic than reality itself. The worlds are closing in on the California branch, not through palace decrees, but through the surgical deployment of a fiction that serves a deeper institutional truth. The siege is real, and this video is the opening salvo. To understand the sheer power of this strategic assault, one must analyze its construction with the cold precision of a forensic accountant. The effectiveness of this video lies not in emotion, but in its technical sophistication, a methodical dismantling of trust. The core of the fabrication is voice cloning technology. By 2026, the barrier to entry for these tools has collapsed. Using less than 3 minutes of publicly available audio from Mirren's past interviews, a neural network was trained to replicate her unique vocal signature, her cadence, her aristocratic accent, her subtle inflections of judgment. The script, written with surgical precision after the ceremony, was then fed into this model, generating an audio track that is, to the unaided human ear, indistinguishable from the real person. This was planned. This fabricated audio was then synchronized with the genuine Golden Globes footage using advanced lip sync software. Frame by frame, the algorithm adjusted Dame Helen's mouth movements to match the fabricated phonemes. The process is not flawless. To a trained eye, it introduces microscopic artifacts, a slight unnatural tension in the jaw, a micro delay in lip closure that feels subconsciously wrong. But these flaws are designed to be entirely invisible on the small, compressed screens of mobile devices where audiences consume content in fleeting, distracted scrolls without the opportunity for deep analysis. However, this merely scratches the surface. The final layer of deception was the most masterful and the most cynical: the weaponization of audience reaction. Meryl Streep, Oprah Winfrey, Tom Hanks, titans of the industry, pillars of Hollywood's moral establishment, were edited in. Their reactions, captured during entirely different moments of the long ceremony, were cut and pasted to create the illusion of a stunned, unified audience witnessing a public rebuke. This was not merely a clever edit, it was the construction of a false social consensus, a digital sleight of hand that instructed viewers on precisely how they were supposed to feel. It was a masterful exercise of soft power engineering, not just a fake event, but a fake collective judgment. Let that sink in. The attack was not just on Meghan Markle, but on the audience's very ability to trust what they see. The dissemination of the Meghan video was not left to chance. This was a planned military-style operation, a digital blitzkrieg designed with one objective: to overwhelm platform defenses before any credible counteroffensive could be mounted. Within the first hour of its creation, the video was uploaded simultaneously across a network of coordinated, anonymous accounts on TikTok, YouTube, and X. This tactic, known in the shadowy world of reputation management as engagement seeding, triggers platform algorithms to interpret the sudden burst of activity as a sign of organically trending content. The video was instantly propelled into the recommendation feeds of millions of users who had no prior context or reason to be skeptical. The financial architecture behind such an operation is chillingly simple. A modest investment, between $500 and $2,000, can purchase the initial wave of shares, likes, and comments needed to achieve this algorithmic escape velocity. From there, the devastating efficiency of human psychology takes over. The video began to spread at an exponential rate, transforming from a piece of content into a cultural event. Commentary channels operating in a high-speed, low-verification environment driven by ad revenue immediately treated the clip as confirmed footage. They paused frames, analyzed body language, and debated the bravery of Meghan's supposed words, lending a veneer of journalistic legitimacy to a complete and total fabrication. The system is designed to reward this fraudulent conduct. Engagement, not accuracy, is the sole currency of the digital realm. The platforms, with their content identification systems focused on obvious copyright violations and their moderation teams targeting explicit violence, were utterly unprepared for this new form of synthetic media. The video was an original creation. It violated no existing terms of service. It was, in effect, the perfect institutional crime, an act of profound deception carried out in plain sight, leveraging the very infrastructure of modern communication as its primary weapon. The attack was not just successful, it was profitable, a clear signal that the economic incentives are now fully aligned against the truth. In any previous era, a fabrication of this magnitude, an outright digital assassination of a public figure's character, would have been immediately challenged and debunked by the established guardians of information. Major news outlets, entertainment, trade publications, and broadcast networks would have acted as an institutional immune system. Yet, in the critical first 48 hours of the video's viral spread, their silence was absolute and deafening. Consider the facts. Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline, publications that document every conceivable moment of an award show with obsessive detail, published nothing. The broadcast networks that carried the Golden Globes issued no statements, no clarifications, no corrections. The official social media accounts for the ceremony itself remained entirely quiet, as if the event had never occurred. This absence of coverage was not, as many on social media immediately assumed, proof of a conspiracy to protect Meghan Markle. It was proof of a far more terrifying predicament: the complete collapse of the system itself. The mainstream media, with its slower, fact-checking based metabolism, simply could not keep pace with the blitzkrieg speed of the lie. But in the conspiratorial logic of the digital age, this vacuum of authority was immediately interpreted as something far more sinister. Her silence speaks volumes. The narrative quickly took hold that the silence was not an absence of evidence, but evidence of active suppression. The powerful Hollywood establishment, the argument went, was engaging in a cover-up, protecting one of its own from legitimate criticism. This interpretation transformed the lie into a piece of forbidden knowledge, a truth so dangerous that the powers that be were actively trying to hide it. The hoax had now achieved a new level of strategic power. It was no longer just a viral video. It had become a symbolic act of rebellion against a perceived and corrupt elite. Sharing it felt like an act of defiance. The very institutions that were once supposed to protect the truth were now being successfully cast as the villains in a drama of their own making, a catastrophic failure of institutional management. The Meghan fabrication succeeded not because it was technically perfect, but because it fulfilled a pre-existing emotional demand from the market. It gave a powerful voice and an authoritative face to a diffuse, unspoken sentiment that Hollywood had already turned on Meghan Markle. The video did not create this belief. It merely crystallized it into a potent, shareable asset. In comment sections and on social media threads, a powerful and dangerous rationalization immediately took hold. The concept of emotional truth. Many viewers, even when confronted with irrefutable evidence of the hoax, argued that the video was valid because it reflected what times should times have been said. They claimed the message mattered more than the accuracy, that the fabricated words were symbolically legitimate because they captured a larger, unspoken reality. This is a terrifying predicament for the future of public life. It suggests that a significant portion of the population is now willing to accept a verifiable lie if it aligns with their established worldview. Belief has become detached from evidence, hardening into a narrative that is impervious to facts. People struggled to accept that they had been so thoroughly misled. Sharing the video had been an act of participation, a casting of a vote in the court of public opinion. To retract that share, to admit error, felt like a public humiliation. And so, rather than confront their mistake, many doubled down in a desperate sprint against the truth. They began searching for corroborating material, taking old, out-of-context clips of Meghan and layering the fake audio over them, creating new layers of falsehood to prop up the original lie. The false moment had become a memory. People do not ignore accusations of that magnitude unless challenging them creates larger problems. In forums and comment sections, users began to claim they remembered seeing it live, recalling audience reactions that never happened. The hoax had completed its final, chilling transformation from a piece of digital fiction to a fact cemented in the public consciousness by the sheer force of collective will. The fairy tale that Meghan presented to the world already contained fractures, but this shatters it completely. The official corrections, when they finally arrived, were like lifeboats launched after the ship had already sunk beneath the waves. Respected legacy media outlets like Reuters and The Guardian published thorough, meticulous debunks. They provided full transcripts of Dame Helen Mirren's actual unremarkable speech. They compared timestamps with forensic precision. They explained the digital editing techniques used in the hoax in painstaking detail. But these reports, these monuments to journalistic integrity, reached only a tiny fraction of the 50 million people who had already viewed and absorbed the original lie. Here is the part no one expected. In the brutal ecosystem of digital information, a lie travels at the speed of light, while the truth is forced to walk. The very same algorithms that had so eagerly promoted the sensational, emotionally charged fabrication showed absolutely no interest in the sober, factual correction. There were no strong emotional signals to reward, no outrage to monetize, no conflict to amplify for profit. The audience that had so eagerly consumed the lie reacted to the truth, not with relief, but with open hostility. Comment sections on the fact-checking articles were filled with derision and contempt. The corrections were dismissed as damage control or worse, as further evidence of the deep state media conspiracy to protect Meghan Markle. The debunks were not seen as a clarification of the facts, but as a direct personal attack on the viewer's own judgment. This reveals a fundamental and perhaps fatal flaw in our modern information architecture. The entire system is designed to reward speed and emotion, which means that corrections, by their very nature, arrive too late to matter and reach too few people to shift the established consensus. The financial incentives are now perfectly aligned to promote falsehoods and actively suppress the truth. By the time the fact-checkers had proven beyond any doubt that the event never happened, the creators of the hoax had already cashed their checks. The platforms had reaped the rewards of the astronomical engagement, and millions of viewers had emotionally absorbed a lie as a confirmed, unshakable memory. This was not a failure of the system. This was the system working as intended. To fully grasp the calculated cruelty of this hoax, one must contrast the fabricated attack with Dame Helen Mirren's actual documented public record regarding the Duchess of Sussex. The video's creators did not choose their vessel at random. Their selection was a masterful strategic choice designed to weaponize her unique credibility. Dame Helen's authority on matters of the British monarchy is unparalleled in the acting world. Her 2006 Oscar-winning performance in Times the Queen Times was not merely an impersonation. It was a profound humanization of the institution, portraying the monarchy as a place of immense burden, duty, and personal constraint. Her portrayals have always emphasized dignity and the suppression of personal drama for the sake of institutional survival. This hard-won reputation for measured, principled judgment is precisely what made the fabricated attack so believable and so devastating. Yet, her real, on-the-record statements stand in stark, diametric opposition to the script of the deepfake. In February 2020, Mirren told the entertainment trade publication Variety that Meghan Markle was a fantastic addition to the royal family, praising her as charming, gracious, and sweet-natured. She went on to publicly support the Sussexes' decision to step back from royal duties, describing it as the right decision for their family. This was not the vague, meaningless diplomacy of a celebrity avoiding controversy. This was consistent, unequivocal public support. The hoax, therefore, was not just a lie. It was a character assassination by proxy. It represented the complete inversion of Mirren's entire public persona, replacing her real statements of support with manufactured contempt. It was a masterful exercise of soft power. The operators of this campaign took an actress known for embodying institutional dignity and surgically transformed her into a weapon against a woman who had dared to break from that very institution. They understood that when a fake video puts words in the mouth of someone who won the Oscar for playing the Queen, audiences do not just see an opinion, they see institutional judgment. This was not about deception. This was about power. This narrative attack was not an act of passion. It was a business transaction. The anonymous network behind the Mirren video operates on a chillingly rational economic model where fabrication pays, and it pays immediately. Analysis of the digital footprint and dark web marketplaces indicates that this single video generated an estimated $200,000 in the first week alone. This revenue stream is a sophisticated combination of programmatic ad revenue on platforms like YouTube, lucrative affiliate partnerships for VPNs and other digital privacy tools, and, most significantly, premium subscriptions. The creator's Patreon account, which offers subscribers exclusive access to even more inflammatory content for a monthly fee, saw an explosion from 400 to 12,000 subscribers within days of the video going viral. At $5 per month, this represents an additional $60,000 in recurring monthly revenue. This is the financial infrastructure of systematic deception. The potential consequences, platform suspension, advertiser boycotts, legal action remain largely theoretical and toothless. In a cold, hard cost-benefit analysis, the financial upside of creating a viral hoax massively outweighs the negligible risk. No platform has suspended the accounts. No advertiser has pulled its funding. The message sent by the market was clear, brutal, and unambiguous. This form of content is not just tolerated, it is highly profitable. This represents a hostile acquisition of the public's attention and trust. Just as a corporate raider might dismantle a company for its assets, these media operatives dismantle a person's reputation for engagement metrics. They have industrialized the process, creating a playbook that can be replicated with moderate technical skill and a few $100s of seed money. They are turning lies into a reliable and scalable source of income. This is not about undermining an individual. It is about commercializing the very act of deception. The American dream is transforming into a financial nightmare for anyone caught in the crosshairs of this new predatory industry. The market has spoken, and it has placed a premium on profitable falsehoods. The Meghan fabrication did not occur in a vacuum. It landed on the fertile ground of a media landscape where the so-called Sussex enterprise was already facing a severe and escalating crisis of confidence. The carefully constructed image of Meghan's triumphant entry into Hollywood had begun to crumble under the immense weight of institutional reality. In September of 2020, Arkawell Productions signed a landmark deal with Netflix, valued by trade publications at an estimated $100 million. This was followed by a multi-year podcast deal with Spotify, reportedly worth between $15 and $25 million. These agreements were presented to the world as the unshakable foundation for a new global media empire. But the execution revealed a profound and systemic dysfunction. For nearly 2 years, both of these nine-figure deals produced almost no public output. When content finally arrived, it failed to build any sustainable momentum. The 6-part Netflix docuseries Times Harry and Meghan Time saw a massive debut week, but engagement dropped off precipitously, failing to trigger the renewals or spin-offs that signaled true platform success. The lifestyle series Asterisk With Love, Meghan Asterisk, debuted strong but fell out of the top 10 entirely within 3 weeks, a commercial death sentence in the brutal, metric-driven world of streaming. The Spotify partnership ended in a shocking and public humiliation, with senior executive Bill Simmons openly labeling the couple grifters on his own podcast, an unprecedented breach of corporate decorum that signaled the relationship had spectacularly backfired. This was not just a series of missteps, it was a systematic failure to integrate into the Hollywood ecosystem. All of their released content remained self-produced and centered on the Sussex brand, with no competitive bidding from other studios, no first-look deals for outside projects, and no visible expansion. Hollywood operates on a simple, brutal principle: success begets opportunity. The quiet, industry-wide refusal to offer further deals was a clear institutional verdict. The initial investment had failed to deliver a return, and the atmosphere inside the Sussex residence reportedly resembles a siege. In Hollywood, reputational collapse rarely happens with a bang. It is a slow, silent process of institutional elimination. Support fades through thousands of small, uncoordinated decisions made by agents who quietly stop returning calls and executives who suddenly stop attaching their names to projects. The erosion of Meghan Markle's professional shield was starkly visible in the changing behavior of her former allies. After the March 2021 Oprah interview, public support from celebrities arrived quickly and loudly. By 2025, that chorus had fallen completely silent. The actress, Jameela Jamil, once a vocal and ferocious defender on social media, publicly clarified in an interview that their worlds were now entirely separate, creating clear distance without overt hostility. But the most telling case was that of the media mogul Tyler Perry. This was the man who, in 2020, provided an extraordinary level of personal and financial protection to the Sussexes during their most vulnerable moment, offering his Los Angeles home, his private jet, and his full-time security team at his own expense. He was, by their own admission, their chosen family. Yet, when Perry himself faced a massive $260 million harassment lawsuit in June of 2025, the couple offered no public statements and no visible support. By August, media outlets reported that all contact between them had ceased entirely. This was not an act of personal betrayal. This was an act of institutional management. The cost-benefit calculation had shifted. The reputational liability of associating with the Sussexes now outweighed any potential gain. Perry had absorbed immense personal and professional risk to protect them. Yet, when he required a reciprocal show of public solidarity, the association was deemed too costly, too toxic. This is the cold precision with which Hollywood operates. Protection is a commodity, offered only as long as an asset is perceived to be valuable and safe. When that value diminishes, when that safety evaporates, the shield is quietly withdrawn, leaving the individual completely and utterly exposed to the elements. One cannot destroy relationships and then expect support to continue arriving. The strategic origins of this devastating reputational decline can be traced back to a single catastrophic miscalculation. The March 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey. While the 2-hour CBS special drew a massive audience and generated a wave of initial sympathy in the United States, it ultimately locked the Sussex brand into a grievance-based narrative that proved to be commercially toxic. The sensational allegations against the royal family created a public persona that was fundamentally at odds with the aspirational, positive lifestyle brand that their company, Archewell, later attempted to market to corporations and consumers. One cannot build a commercial empire of inspiration on a foundation of perceived victimhood and unresolved conflict. Studios, brands, and investors value predictability and control above all else. The Oprah interview transformed the Sussexes into a volatile, high-risk asset. Defending them in the immediate aftermath felt morally righteous to some, but it felt professionally uncertain for all. Over time, as diligent fact-checking began to question timelines, challenge protocol details, and expose inconsistencies between public records and the claims made in the interview, the narrative began to fray. U.S. approval ratings, which had surged immediately after the broadcast, plummeted. But more damaging than any single correction was the way the interview established a pattern of public conflict that made potential partners deeply wary. Hollywood does not invest in protracted, unpredictable family disputes. It invests in talent that can deliver a product without generating collateral reputational damage. By late 2024, the industry had reached a quiet, unspoken consensus. Silence had become the safer, more profitable option. No new high-profile advocates stepped forward to champion their cause. Previous supporters stopped amplifying their work. And the informal, invisible shield that had once protected Meghan's reputation dissolved completely. It was into this narrative vacuum, this profound and deafening silence, that the fabricated Mirren video was injected, offering a simple, powerful, and seemingly authoritative explanation for a complex and unspoken institutional reality. The counteroffensive had begun. The fake Helen Mirren moment did not cause Meghan Markle's Hollywood decline. It was a symptom of it, a brutal confirmation of a verdict already passed in silence. The video succeeded because it gave a definitive, visible shape to a slow, quiet, and ambiguous process. There was no single dramatic moment when the industry turned away. There was no public confrontation, no formal denunciation from a studio head. Instead, the institutional protection simply disappeared. This is how judgment is delivered in the modern era of reputational management. Careers no longer end solely through public scandals, formal lawsuits, or damning exposés. They unravel when powerful networks stop defending, when media gatekeepers stop assigning positive coverage, and when commercial partners quietly decline to renew contracts without ever offering a public reason. The industry moved away from the Sussex enterprise through countless individual calculations of risk and liability. The fake video gave that invisible structural shift a face, a voice, and a timestamp that millions could point to as incontrovertible proof. It converted a diffuse, complex reality into a singular, shareable, and easily digestible event. This is the new, terrifying power of synthetic media. When reality feels scattered and unclear, a convincing fiction that offers simple clarity feels more believable than the messy truth. The video did not persuade audiences that Hollywood had abandoned Meghan Markle. It persuaded them that they had finally been allowed to witness the precise moment when it happened. This is the ultimate form of tough love from an industry that operates with the cold precision of a market. It doesn't fire you, it simply stops hiring you. It doesn't denounce you, it simply forgets you exist. The silence is the verdict, and the deepfake was merely its public announcement. Somewhere in California at this moment, Meghan knows this is approaching. We are now living in an age where belief functions as reality. The Helen Mirren fabrication is not just an attack on one public figure, it is a test case for a new and terrifying form of information warfare where anyone's reputation can be systematically dismantled by a manufactured event. The very infrastructure of our digital world is designed to reward this deception. For public figures, this creates an impossible game of attrition. To defend against something that never happened requires repeating the lie in order to deny it, amplifying the original attack. To correct the record is to chase 1 million digital ghosts across platforms that have already moved on to the next profitable outrage. Reputation has become dangerously fragile because a profitable falsehood will always outrun an inconvenient fact. The royal family, as an ancient institution, has centuries of experience managing its narrative and defending itself against hostile attacks. It operates with a deep, instinctual understanding of legacy and institutional survival. The California branch, however, appears to have catastrophically misjudged this new battlefield, leaving itself strategically and financially exposed. The fake Mirren moment, a masterfully executed lie, filled the void left by their own strategic failures. The siege on their credibility is real, and it is a brutal but necessary lesson about power in the 21st century. One cannot spend years attacking an institution, undermining its very foundations, and then act surprised when the informal protection of other institutions is withdrawn. Now, the judgment passes to the jury of public opinion. Has the damage to the Sussex brand become irreversible, or can they mount a credible counteroffensive in this new war of perception? Is the industry's withdrawal a temporary liquidity crisis of reputation, or a permanent and fatal insolvency? Cast your vote in the comments below. Type Team Hollywood if you believe the institutional verdict is final. Type Team Sussex if you believe they can engineer a recovery. Your judgment matters.